All right, guys, going to do another example here. I think I know how to do this one, so I don't think that I'm going to mess up at all, but maybe I will. I'm not positive. All right, let me get myself set up. Red sounds good. Okay, so here is a problem that's a little bit complicated. I got two fractions that we're adding up, and it's going to equal something pretty simple. All right, so if I'm going to add fractions, I need a common denominator. Okay, so what I'm going to do is multiply this denominator by 1 minus sine x. And I'm going to multiply this denominator by 1 plus sine x. That way we'll have the same denominator. And also I'm noticing that these are conjugates of each other, which means they are the same except the sign in the middle is different. Okay, and actually that's nice. That means we're going to get a differences of squares, which means things are going to clean up a little bit. Okay, so let's take this first fraction, multiply top and bottom by the other denominator, which is 1 minus sine x. So I'm going to do that to the bottom, so I got to do it on the top. Then the second fraction, I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 1 plus sine x. And you'll find that in this case we kind of had to multiply by the conjugates because that's what we needed to have common denominators. But you'll find multiplying by the conjugates is often something that'll work pretty well here. All right, so now let's simplify a little bit. All right, so this first guy right here, all right, cosine x minus cosine x sine x over, now we got differences of squares, so in the FOIL, the O and the I are going to cancel out, so I really only have to worry about first times first and last times last. All right, let's do the same thing here, so we have cosine x plus cosine x sine x over, we're going to have the same denominator, 1 minus sine squared x, and that's going to equal 2 secant x. All right, so now that we have a common denominator, we can go ahead and add the numerators. So we have a cosine x plus a cosine x, so that'll give us 2 cosine x. Then we have a negative cosine x sine x and a positive cosine x sine x, so those will cancel out. All right, so that's our numerator. Wow, that cleaned up nicely. And then the denominator, 1 minus sine squared, Pythagorean identity, right? Because sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. So 1 minus sine squared is going to be cosine squared. Fill it in. All right, and then 2 secant x, let's make that 2 over cosine x, right? Because secant x, secant x is the same thing as 1 over cosine x, right? So we can make that substitution in. Almost done. We have a cosine on top and a cosine on bottom. We have 2 cosines on bottom, so we lose one of them. So we're going to end up with 2 over cosine x equals 2 over cosine x. Done. Adios.